Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to talk about my most anticipated May new releases. So, as always with these videos, I'm gonna be talking about a lot of books, and there are a lot of books coming out in May. I don't think I've had this many new releases in a video ever, so there's a lot of good books coming out, but not all of them are books that I am necessarily interested in. So, mostly it is to put like new releases on your radar. I will be talking about which one of these I'm looking forward to the most. But yeah, I'm not going to get around to all of these. If you are interested in my thoughts on any of these books, leave them down below and I'll make sure to prioritize them. There's two different parts. The first part and the biggest part is either first books in series, sequels in interconnected standalones, or standalone books. And the other part will be direct sequels. And that category, I will only talk about the author, the title, and the publication date, because I figured if you're interested in a sequel, you already know what it's about. Most of the time, I haven't read these series, so I don't want to spoil myself by reading the synopsis of a sequel. Most of the books I'm talking about are romance books. So yeah, let's get started. I will be talking about these books in order of publication date. So the first book comes out on May 1st, and it is A Darkness So Sweet by Emma Hamm. This is her newest monster romance, and I really enjoy this cover. I like the color of it. Okay, so this book, you follow Maya and Ragnar. Maya is a human, and she thought that she was going to create floral arrangements for the royal wedding, but soon enough she finds herself thrust in an unwanted union with a fearsome troll. And she thinks it's the crown who tricked her. And Ragnar, the powerful troll healer, is disgusted by the human king's deception. And his duty is to accept this lie of a marriage. But he thought he was going to get married to a strong half-elven. But instead he got this like weak human. But they have to get married, of course. And slowly they get to know each other. She slowly starts falling for him and starts getting attracted to him because he's also surprisingly poetic. And yeah, a troll and a human. The next book comes out on May 2nd, and it's The Things We Water by Mariana Zapata. And this is a paranormal romance by her, which, first of all, she hasn't published in a while. And usually she publishes contemporary romances, so I'm very much looking forward to this one. The synopsis doesn't give me anything, so let's check her Instagram if she has one. Okay, this might be a shifter romance or a werewolf romance, I think. I'm not sure. The cover, there's a wolf on the cover. She found this magical puppy. I don't know. Honestly, the synopsis doesn't give me anything. Let's just read it to you. Okay, once upon a time, a girl found a magical puppy and her life was never the same again. Nina needs help, so much of it. The only place she can find that help is on a sprawling ranch in Colorado, a place hiding more than a community filled with magical creatures trying to live their lives in safety and in peace. A village that might hold the answers to the questions she's had her entire life. And if that ranch is owned by her best friend's hunky cousin, there are worse things in the world than having to live right by Henry Blackrock. That doesn't give me anything, but it is a paranormal romance, so very intrigued by this one. The next 6 books all come out on May 6th. The first one is The Last Sunrise by Anna Todd. Once again, I don't know if she's published anything other than the After series. Let me see. Yeah, not really. She has other series, but most of what she's written is After. So this is about a sheltered young woman whose life transforms during a summer in Mallorca with a mysterious local. So like I said, she's sheltered, then she meets Julian, and they get, like, he gets her out of her shell a little bit, and it's their romance. I don't know if this is gonna be good, but we'll see. Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry comes out on May 6th, like I said. So this is a fantasy romance. Once again, might be her first fantasy romance, I think. Okay, so this is about a princess who thought that she was gonna just wear the crown and obey the king. She was never meant to rule, never meant to fight, and was never supposed to be the daughter who sealed an ancient treaty with her own blood. But that all changed one fateful day when a legendary monster hunter sailed to their shores. The day a prince ruined her life. Now she's crossing treacherous lands beside a warrior who despises her as much as she despises him. bound to a future she didn't choose and a husband she barely knows. So this is enemies to lovers. Obviously, it's a fantasy romance. It sounds great. Riding the High by Paisley Hope. This is the third book in the Silver Pines Ranch series, the first book being Holding the Reins. So this is a getting married in Vegas story. It's between a newly appointed sheriff and a congressman's daughter, and they have to keep their impulsive Vegas nuptials hidden to protect their reputations. So this is about Cole and Ginger. He's a single dad. She is a elementary school teacher and, like I said, congressman's daughter. When they go to Las Vegas, a game of truth and dare and far too many drinks have them waking up in Vegas married to each other. So they end up agreeing to stay married for 90 days and then she starts taking care of his daughter. And yeah, I've heard great things about this series. I haven't read it yet. Next, there's Jilted by V. Keelan. So you follow, I don't know her name, but after her fiance abandoned her at the altar last year, her dream job at Bride magazine has turned into a recurring nightmare. And the bridezilla of her latest assignment somehow roped her into filling in for her missing bridesmaid. And she gets paired with the most gorgeous groomsman, Wilder Hayes. And she thinks, okay, I never have to see him again. He's a jerk. But when she gets to work the next day, she finds out that he's her boss's son. And she'll have to spend the rest of this season working with him at every single wedding she covers that year. So it says here, 27 Dresses meets The Hating Game, and it seems like that is an apt comparison. One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. So this is another story by Carly that takes place on a lake. You follow Alice and Charlie. When Alice's grandmother breaks her hip, Alice decides to go to Barry's Bay to take care of her grandmother. And Alice is a photographer, and when she was a teenager, she took a photo of 3 grinning teenagers in a yellow speedboat. Now she meets one of those people again, Charlie, and he's a shameless flirt. And he also knows her grandmother, so they are kind of in forced proximity situations, and it's going to be their romance. Carly Fortune is not really my favorite author, so I don't really want to read this book. But the only way I will read it is if this one makes it into the Goodreads Choice Awards for the romance category, then I have to, but otherwise I think I'm going to skip it. And the last one that comes out on May 6th is What Happens in Amsterdam by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Honestly, the only reason I put this here is because I'm from Amsterdam, or I live in Amsterdam, and I always like it when books take place in either Amsterdam or the Netherlands. And I have read another book by Rachel Lynn Solomon that I did enjoy, X-Talk. So this is a second chance romance / marriage of convenience book. So you follow Danny, who doesn't really know what to do with her life. So when an office romance ends poorly, she ends up applying for a job in Amsterdam, and she ends up getting that job. And on her first week in Amsterdam, she crashes her bike into her ex-boyfriend, and his name is Wouter van Leeuwen, and he was a Dutch exchange student, and now he needs to get married to inherit a gorgeous family home on a canal. When her job falls apart, she needs a visa, so of course it's going to be their second chance romance. As much as I love second chance romances, usually they are ridiculous because why would you need to get married to inherit money or whatever? But to be honest, the fact that this takes place in the Netherlands, I find it a little bit harder to suspend my disbelief because I don't think that is ever a thing in the Netherlands. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like since I don't live in the US, I can pretend like that is more of a thing over there. Anyway, the cover is really cute and we'll see if I get around to this one. Now for the romances that come out on May 13th, there are 3 of them. The first one is Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This is her third and final book in the Skyland trilogy by her, which is a series following 3 different friends getting their HEA, and this is Hendrix's book. And Hendrix, as you've seen in the other books, is very successful, and she really has her life together. She's a woman with goals, dreams, ambitions, but she is now facing one of the harder challenges, taking care of her aging parent. So she doesn't really have time for romance, but then she meets tech mogul Maverick Bell. But apparently there's a forbidden aspect to that romance. The synopsis doesn't really tell me what that is, so we'll have to see. I will be reading this book as soon as it comes out. Next, there's Dream On, Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake. And this is a romance between a small-town waitress and a Hollywood star. It's a female-female romance. as Ashley is known to write. Ramona Riley was a student at a prestigious art school, and she wanted to become an actress in Hollywood. But after her father's car accident, she moved back home, and that's where she's been living for the last 12 years as a waitress. But when a big Hollywood movie gets filmed in her town, she thinks this might be my shot. But then she realizes that the star of the movie is a girl that she had her first kiss with, and Dylan Monroe. It seems like she doesn't really remember that as vividly as Ramona does. So they end up getting to know each other, Ramona showing her around town, and it's gonna be their romance. I really love this cover. I think it's adorable. Adorbs. And the last one that comes out on May 13th is A Simple Twist of Fate by April Asher. This is a witch and a shapeshifter, which I like those romances. I always love, first of all, I love shapeshifter romances or shifter romances, but I also tend to love it when there's witches involved too. And this is also a second chance romance. So they met 13 years ago, and Harlow thought that her cougar shifter boyfriend Jackson was her fated mate, but fate had other plans and guided her best friend to him instead, so she ended up fleeing the town and just moving away. Now 13 years later, she returns to her magical hometown with her half-human, half-shifter goddaughter in tow. Now he is the alpha of the Rocky Mountain Pack. This is gonna be their romance, I guess. I don't know. There's a dragon on the cover. I don't know what the dragon has anything to do with this book. Then there's one book that comes out on May 15th, and it is Hold the Line by Julia Wolf. This is the second book in her Kelly Ranch series, the first book being See It Through. And I love this cover. I love this curvy heroine on the cover. So this is a romance between Deke and Phoebe. He was her high school crush, but he ended up going to prison. Now he's back, and he's living in the apartment above hers. He is covered in ink, and even more intriguing than before. She is the owner of Sugar Rush Bakery. He really doesn't want anything to do with her until the day he doesn't have a choice, because when his past comes knocking at their door, he has to protect her. And it seems like they have nothing in common, because she is a ray of sunshine and he's a stoic tattooed carpenter. But this is gonna be their romance. I've heard amazing things about Julia Wolf from Jen over at the Book Refuge. I'm pretty sure a lot of people heard amazing things about Julia Wolf. I haven't read a Julia Wolf yet, but I really want to do that soon. So we'll have to see if this is going to be the first book I read by her. There are 6 books that come out on May 20th. The first one, of course, is Rewind It Back by Liz Stomforty. This is the 5th and final book in her Windy City series, and this is a long-awaited Rio book. And Rio has been around since the first book, and he has been looking for love ever since the first book. And like I said, this is going to finally be his romance. This is a second chance romance between him and Hallie, and they met when they were 11. They got into a relationship when they were 16, and when they were 19, they both broke each other's hearts. She is a interior designer. He, of course, is a hockey player. Now she gets assigned to do a renovation project for his home, and she has to live next door to him, and of course, they have to deal with their past, and of course, there's still feelings there, so this is their second chance romance, and I'm very much looking forward to this one. I'll be reading this book as soon as it's in my hands. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillick. So she wrote One Dark Window, and in my vlog reading that book, I said, and that was her debut novel, but in the vlog I did reading that book, I said that I was going to read anything this woman writes because her writing was beautiful. So that's why it's on here. I don't know if I can actually get around to it, but hopefully I can. So this is another mist-cloaked tale, but this is about a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister and on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. So this is about Ren and Alice, and they fell in love as kids and had their son Sam when they were teenagers. It seems like they were made for each other until they fell apart, and now divorced and in their 30s. Ren runs the bakery in town and Alice works as a firefighter, and they live separate lives, but they can't get each other off their minds. And when their son is accepted to college and they have to help him move in, Alice convinces Ren to take an extended road trip back to Spruance with him to see if they can give their relationship one last chance. Once again, a second chance romance, and I really tend to love those. Heart of the Sun by Mia Sheridan. So this is a dystopian romance and also a second chance romance. So childhood friends Tuck and Emily shared a bond that seemed unbreakable until life ripped them apart. 13 years later, Emily is a rising pop sensation in need of security, and Tuck, a brooding ex-con, is in need for a fresh start. So she hires him as her bodyguard. But then a cataclysmic solar flare disrupts the electrical grid. Society is suddenly plunged into chaos and darkness. They have to survive together. This sounds eerily like something that could happen. And I've heard amazing things about Mia Sheridan. I will be reading my first Mia Sheridan in May anyway, but if I really love that, I might get around to this one. The Love Haters by Catherine Center. This synopsis is kind of all over the place, but you follow Katie, who is a video producer, but she has two choices: either wait to get laid off from her job as video producer, or take a career-making gig profiling Tom Hutchison, a Coast Guard rescue swimmer. But she can't swim. And Hutch apparently is the hottest man around, and this is gonna be their romance, I think. But like, there's a lot going on. Swim lessons, helicopter flights, conga lines, drinking contests, hurricanes, stolen kisses. So I've only read one Catherine Center and it was not my favorite. So unless this one makes it into the Goodreads Choice Awards, I don't think I'll read this one, unless there's a lot of good reviews. Next is Ride With Me by Simone Soltani, which is the second book in the Lights Out series by her, the first book being Cross the Line. This is a Formula One romance and a marriage of convenience book. Okay, so basically Stella was left at the altar, and now she has to show up at her cousin's bachelorette party where she meets Thomas, who's looking for a good time. They end up hitting it off. They also get married in Vegas. And since this is pitched as a marriage of convenience, it seems like they will stay together and pretend that they actually are married and in love. I really like the covers of her books. Then on May 27th, another 6 books come out. The first one is, I think, my most anticipated. No, I don't know. It's between this one and Rewind It Back. But it's Beautiful Venom by Rena Kent. This one I already talked about in my TBR, but the synopsis doesn't really give me anything. This is a dark hockey romance, and it's Rena Kent. Of course, I'm gonna read it. So let me actually tell you what the tropes are. It is a dark romance, secret society, anti-hero, main male character, and girl who bites back, enemies to lovers, hockey romance, primal play, she's out for revenge. So I've been reading Rena Kent. Like, I've read her Legacy of Gods, I've read Kiss the Villain, and I really want to read everything she publishes. So of course I'm going to be reading this one. I am interested to see how she's going to write a dark hockey romance. Next is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This one is technically the sequel to Not in Love, but I don't think you have to read Not in Love to read this one. So you follow Maya and Connor. She's 23, he's 38, and he is her brother's best friend, and she's had a crush on him for a while. And now she really just doesn't want anything to do with him. But then her brother gets married in Sicily. They get stuck together in this villa, and they have to kind of confront their feelings for each other. So they end up having a summer fling, even though it's problematic. So I don't mind an age gap, and we'll see how she'll tackle this one. I am kind of apprehensive because I haven't really loved the past 3 Ali Hazelwood books I've read. So we'll have to see. Next is It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. Okay, so this is about Jane and Dan. And she is a creative executive and desperate to get her project greenlit. She claims that famous pop star Jack has promised to write an original song for their movie, I think. But she hasn't spoken to Jack in 20 years. And now she has to convince Dan to go with her to his hometown in Long Island to convince Jack to actually write the song. I don't know about this book, but Annabelle has been popular for a while now, so I don't know. I have a suspicion that she's going to be either in one of the Goodreads lists videos I'm going to do, or that she's going to show up at the Goodreads Choice Awards. So I think I might have to read this book. Along Came Amor by Alexis Daria. This is the 3rd book in her Primas of Power series, the first book being You Had Me at Ola. So you follow Ava and Roman, and Ava was left by her ex-husband, and now she wants to have like a fling, a one-night stand with no strings attached. So she ends up having that with Roman, but they end up meeting each other again at her cousin's engagement party because he is the best man. And they the more they run into each other, the more intrigued he becomes by her. And of course, this is going to be more than just a one-night stand. Flirty Dancing by Jennifer Molfat. This is an MM romance between Archer and Mateo. So this seems like a Dirty Dancing retelling. So this is two dancers at Cat Kills Resort try to pull off a perfect show, but they fall in love instead. So Archer is 27. He wants to become a Broadway star, but he constantly keeps getting rejected. And when he gets to Cat Kills Resort, he meets Mateo, who's actually already a Broadway star, and he doesn't really know why Mateo is there. Yeah, it's gonna be that romance. I'm sure I did a sucky job with this synopsis. Last but not least, for the not direct sequels, is A Fate Forged in Fire by Hazel McBride. This is a romantasy with dragons. To become the first queen in centuries, a powerfully blessed blacksmith must use her wits and fire magic to overthrow the corrupt powers ruling her kingdom, while also fighting her growing desire for one of her dragon rider's adversaries, in the first book of a sizzling Celtic-inspired fantasy romance duology. Now for the direct sequels. The first one is A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen. This is the second book in her saga of the Unfated, the first book being A Fate Inked in Blood, and this one comes out on May 13th. Then there is What Sleeps Within the Cove by Harper L. Woods. This is the fourth book in the Of Flesh and Bone series, the first book being What Lies Beyond the Veil, and this one also comes out on May 13th. And last but most certainly not least is Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh. This is the sixth books in her Boys of Toman series, and this one comes out on May 27th. And I don't really want to tell you who this couple is because I think it will spoil the first couple of books, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. So these were all the romances that I'm anticipating that come out in May. I know I flew through some of these synopses, so if you want to know a little bit more, I'll have all these books linked for you down below, so definitely make sure to check that out. And I would also really love to know which one of these you're most excited about. I think I already told you, for me it's the Liz Tom Ford and Rena Kent books. Those are the very tippity top of books I'm excited about, but leave the ones you're excited about in the comments below. Or if there's a book coming out that I haven't mentioned yet that you're also excited about, leave that below as well. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.